Pretty sure.
I got a good idea. Oh shit, we're live!
Sorry to do it.
Alright guys, welcome, or willkommen, as they say in the Deutschland.
Yeah.
This is the first episode. If you're listening to this, that means you made it, and the episode made it to the internets. Anyway, I am Matty McKeegs, Director of Operations and host of this as of yet nameless show. With me, I have Scumbag Mike.
Hello.
Head of Developmental. And I have Merch Guy. It's still real to me, BG. All right?
Howdy.
All right. So we got a pretty big show planned out today. Kind of want to jump right into it. So the first thing which broke today is that Michael Cole may be potentially taking a backstage role, and supposedly he's going to spend the remainder of 2017 getting the future of the broadcast team ready for his exodus. So I kind of just wanted to start off with that, get kind of reactions from everybody we got here, and kind of discuss what we think is coming in the future. So let's kick it off. Where do we think they're ultimately going to go with this, and how soon do you think his exodus is going to take place?
I don't think it's going to take too long. I don't see it being more than a year, especially since he's made it publicly known that he wants to kind of ease his way out. I think they do have a good list of guys that are backups for him. We have Tom Phillips, who probably could take over doing what he's doing right now. And we also have Corey Graves, who's phenomenal. We have Mauro Ranallo, who treats it like a real sport. He really brings a lot to the table.
Well, he's an excellent boxing.
Addition. Yeah, he does boxing and MMA.
Yeah, so he's got some actual play-by-play experience.
And there's no way in hell that guy went through life without ever being told at least once, like, dude, you have a radio voice, or like you should be like an announcer kind of guy, man. Like, there's no question.
Or Braun!
From what I've heard him do quite a few interviews and everything, and that's just how he is all the time. He's very like upbeat, brings a lot of energy to everything he's doing.
He was born for that.
Yeah.
Sure. Personally, I think that given the proven relationship between him and Corey Graves on 205 Live, moving him over to Raw in the lead spot would be excellent, especially considering they're both like reference machines. I mean, they could sit there and drop pop cultural references all day, and then you move Phillips to the main spot on SmackDown because he's in that odd fourth man role that nobody really understands right now.
The question is, would Vince still be in his ear? Would Vince find his new ear and still insist on walking all over any kind of individual, viewpoints and whatnot, or
maybe that becomes Cole's job. Going backstage. I mean, I can't see why Vince wouldn't trust him. How long has he's been there since like '98?
Yeah, he's been there for about 20 years. He started as a backstage interviewer and then moved on to the commentary tables, and he's been doing commentary for about 15 years.
I think he's even beaten out JR at this point.
As
the
WWE.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's been there probably just as long as JR. JR was there from 93, I think, to 2000.
Yeah, but 93, Macho Man was announcing, right?
Yeah, but I think that's when they had him debut at WrestleMania.
That was
09. And they kind of, because Macho Man was doing Monday Night Raw, and then they moved him later on and onto the table and everything.
I think one thing to be said is that Cole has done a fantastic job. His performance is really well. However, there's no question that, like, everyone, there's a lot of people that really just don't care for what his style is, or the way he there's so many people that go, oh, screw Michael Cole, and it's not really his fault, I feel, and I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, but I feel as if he's done a great job. It's just he's such a stoogey kind of dude that, like, and especially having Vince in his ear, it's people just are not wanting him around anymore. Like, people are you gonna miss Michael Cole? I'm like, no, screw that guy. Like, let's get a new guy in there, which is completely understandable. But that's not to say he hasn't done a good job at being a commentator, I guess, more or less.
He's met the requirements of the job.
For sure,
yeah. It's very Cena-like.
And
for company man.
he is the company man. For example, if you want an example of how he does a better job of bringing a lot of passion and fun to the table, he did really good at the UK tournament, which is he just brought a lot of excitement to that. It seemed like Nigel McGuinness was a little bit more of the calm down guy, the analysis guy, and because he has the in-ring experience, and Michael Cole just brought a lot of fun and excitement, and he really seemed like he was enjoying it.
He was genuinely excited.
Especially on the second night.
I think he was like, this was the loudest I've ever heard a crowd, or like, the most fun I've ever had. He was like super, super enthusiastic.
I thought...
It's still real to Michael Cole.
It's still real to him. G. I thought it was really cool, and whether or not this was true, I mean, he could have just gotten a fact sheet before it went on air. But it seemed like he had really done his homework on the guys, and which actually this segues nicely because obviously we want to talk about the UK tournament, but it seemed like Michael Cole had really read up and watched some tape on the individuals that were competing.
So there's his journalistic qualities right there, which makes a good commentator in turn, which is another thing to say. Good on you, Michael Cole, and hope you have more success for the time to come. I just don't want to hear you doing commentary as well.
Yeah,
we're on to the new guys, and good luck on your future endeavors.
And they do have a good lineup.
For sure. So. Yeah, they if you want to call it a farm league or whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of guys that are practicing for that main spot, and a lot of really interesting characters too.
So with the UK tournament.
Yeah, that is something to be said right there too. Yeah. The UK tournament was the first of its kind, that was something else, and to have WWE really make sure that they do it the right way, and really partner up with those guys. It was that we witnessed history, and I'm not saying that this is another one of those historic. That's one of those hot buzzwords that they want to throw at us all the time. Historic, it's a historic night, blah blah. But
they use that so much.
It genuinely was, and I kind of felt it. I mean, just the fact that it was a live broadcast too was really cool. But yeah, please continue with the.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I wanted to get what do we think of that? What do we think of these tournaments in general? Because this is new. This is uncharted territory right now. I mean, the closest we've come to this before is the King of the Ring, it's really a different thing, really, because it's always been talent that's been cultivated, WWE talent, and now we have these guys that are coming in that, admittedly, WWE's admitting that they're from different places. We're running tournaments and introducing them that way. How do we feel about this almost shotgun introduction to all these characters and performers?
Well, they started kind of dipping their toes in the water with the Dusty Classic a couple of years ago, when they had when Dusty Rhodes passed away. They had the tag team tournament, and they kind of had like a mishmash of guys doing some stuff in that, and that kind of tested out the tournament formula for like the recent years.
Those were all NXT.
They were,
though, right? Correct.
They were. They did, however, do the Cruiserweight Classic last summer, which was one of their first big tournaments. 2016 was a really big year for them. They signed a lot of talent, a lot of talent, and they're kind of just pushing it more now. They with the Dusty Classic last year, they had some new tag teams come in, a couple indie guys here and there, just for one-offs. Like they even had Kota Ibushi come back and teamed with Cedric Alexander, I believe. And now they have the UK tournament, which brought in a lot of guys. I definitely see them just kind of getting a huge influx of talent, and seeing kind of just throwing a lot of stuff at the wall and seeing what's sticking. I think I've heard that they're looking at doing maybe a Canadian tournament. And so, I mean,
be 5 people in the Yukon watching that.
I feel like Canada's not as big a hotbed.
Which is crazy though, because they have a lot of talent that has come out of Canada, and like that's I mean, you've had some of your most legendary superstars, literally superstars, that have come from Canada for sure.
Bret
So
Hart,
it's certainly respectable. I mean, it's just it's like they're the boot of every joke.
Yeah. See what you did there.
But I'm sure that's something like Jericho would appreciate too. I mean, it's like they can take it in good stride. It's just a nudging little joke, but honestly, yeah, they are expanding everywhere, and that's cool because I think they're doing it properly rather than just haphazardly kind of trying to buy out their competition and like they sink them in the water and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, see, we're the lone guy standing, so screw you, we're always going to generate the money. I think they're really they're more so giving so many people opportunities and to thrive in a business that maybe seem to be dying a little bit, and it's certainly getting the people talking about wrestling again. Like there are a lot of people that maybe dropped out in the Attitude Era after the Attitude Era, and are getting people in their ears now, being like, dude, you got to watch. They're doing all kinds of things that it's entertaining to watch now or again, and that's not to say that the Ruthless Aggression Era wasn't entertaining or anything, but they lost a lot of viewership after the Attitude Era. But it's a cool new picked up momentum that they have going right now, and like you said, 2016 has been a huge year.
I think that they're also really getting a lot of. It seems like they're putting a lot of different eggs out there and seeing what sticks, or they're doing a lot of different things, and it seems like they're doing something for everyone. Like they have the 205 Live for the cruiserweights. It kind of stands out to the kids. They like the high flying, high spots. Definitely gets a lot of eyes on that. They have the NXT, which is a lot of the super indie fans have been watching that because they have people like Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano, and they have Nakamura and Samoa Joe, and a lot of big names that they got from the indies. And there, Robert Roode and Roderick Strong just came in not that long ago, except he kind of got lost in the mix. I feel like they also might be getting too much talent at some point, unless they're going to do something where everyone's going to get a chance to shine. They're just going to get to a point where they're pulling in too much talent, and people are just going to get lost in the mix.
It's a great place to be, though. So I struggled with this because I feel the need to, I'm a proud WWE fan, and I feel the need to stand behind everything that they put out. And the reality is, what I'm realizing now, I realized with the UK tourney this weekend, is I don't have to. They're putting out so much content that it's almost getting so massive that it's difficult to keep up with, when you
Absolutely.
have obligations like a full-time job. But I think that's the point, is like what you said, you touched upon something for everyone. And, so the UK tourney personally didn't speak to me because the style I felt was kind of a dated style. I thought the crowd energy was great. But the style itself, I just thought was kind of meandering in a way, and it wasn't fast paced enough. There wasn't the quick sequences that I like to see. But I mean, it touched with BG. It touched with a lot of people, and I think that's cool. Is that like that might not necessarily speak to me, but then they do the cruiserweight tournament, and that does. And the coolest thing about all this is the ultimate goal for all these guys is the main roster. They're not putting these things out there saying, okay, you can exist here, and you can exist here, and you can exist there. Nobody's existing in silos anymore. The ultimate goal is, okay, let's build you up on this, introduce people to whatever your style is, and then kind of have the melting pot of the main roster. And I think that's really, really cool.
It's a brilliant, brilliant business plan, and the fact that, like you said, you're reaching out to all these different groups of people, like something for everyone, and they get to pick and choose whatever they prefer. If you don't like that, relatively old school style, or whatever you want to call it, the UK style, more, there's obviously more than one style going on in there, which is really cool. But I think
it's actually quite a match, especially on the second night. They had a lot of different. They had
the second night was great.
If you guys didn't see the UK tournament, I highly recommend watching it. The first night kind of introduced everyone, got everyone's idea of who they were, and then the second night really picked up. They had a good story throughout the whole night, and every match seemed to be building better and better. And like, just when you thought they couldn't outdo themselves, like that Mark Andrews Pete Dunne match with the high flying and like the Pete Dunne just being brutal to him and just kind of throwing him around. I thought that was going to be the match of the night.
A lot of those guys, especially in night 2, did such a great job as to really kind of finding who they were and what they're about, and just like putting it all on the table and putting it all out there, and it really transferred well to the crowd. The crowd was really, really into it. Michael Cole was going batshit.
He was losing it.
But Yeah, back to the business aspect. I definitely want to get back to the talent that was going on in that UK tournament.
Yeah,
we'll
get the standouts. Yeah,
but back to the business aspect of it. The fact that they're going to give you so many options. So, say you are a really busy guy, girl, whatever you want. If you have only one product to watch and it's really not doing it for you, then you're done with it. You're absolutely done with it. On to the next thing. Now, when it comes to having all these options, if you want to give that, say WWE Network for a chance, if you are any kind of wrestling fan, you are going to find something that you like, and you can get, balls deep in that one thing that you like, or you can keep on going and you'll find more things you like and be overwhelmed with how much that you like. But fact of the matter is, that's great for business because you're at least getting just about everybody, if they even barely kind of like wrestling, because it's something that they'll like. And in the end, like you were talking about, Scumbag Mike, you were talking about the fact that it's kind of, it could be a bad thing because you have all of this talent and hopefully you do something with them. And when it comes down to it, I think that it's another part of their brilliance is that in these subdivisions, if you will, I feel as if there is a talent that really sticks out like a sore thumb, man, and it's just they're getting so over, they might just make it to the main roster, and eventually you'll have a main roster full of the top guys of every division, and they'll find places to put them, and they'll find different ways to work them in there, and essentially you'll just have a ton of guys that people are loving to see, rather than like those fillers that some people complain about. And one person's fillers is another person's favorite, and that's cool beans. But
there are people that love the vaudevillains.
It's a great problem.
What's that supposed to be in the fight? Yeah, but no, you're absolutely right.
It's a good problem to have. It really is.
Exactly, it's a good problem to have, and I don't see it backfiring on them.
And they
They're
have
doing
enough
it the right
programming
way
now to utilize all these talents. Whereas before, it was limited, and you had guys that would get lost in the mix. I'm not saying that guys still aren't getting lost in the mix, but they're solving these problems by introducing more programming,
right.
And they pull the trigger now on redeveloping characters much quicker than they ever did back in the day, and which is amazing considering we live in the age of the internet, where it's really easy for like people and Bray Wyatt maybe to like Husky Harris and shit like that. But it's like they're recognizing when something's misfiring, and they're instantly going back to the drawing board and trying to rework it. I don't want to spend. We got a little off the rails there.
Yeah, we can
but
go
let's get back to the UK tourney. I just kind of wanted to jump into some standouts that everybody saw. I know for me personally, Trent Seven. It's got main roster championship material written all over him.
What is it Mountain Man or something?
Yeah, the Mustache Mountain.
Mustache Mountain. I love it. That was great.
Yeah.
So I wanted to hear what some of you guys
character.
think. Scumbag Mike, what were some of the standouts for you?
Honestly, Pete Dunne was by and far my favorite. I think he got the biggest story of the weekend, ending on the first night with attacking Sam Gradwell, and he kind of just got the heat from William Regal. William Regal going out there and kind of just...
Oh, he absolutely poured fuel on that fire of heel heat. He looked genuinely furious, and it was like, is this real? Or is it, it's that whole thing where you want to make the kayfabe as real as possible, and they did a great job at that.
And Pete Dunne has a face that, he looks like that smarky asshole that you had in high school.
That haircut.
That, he's always so smug and smirking, and he works his heel heat so well.
Heel. He reminds me of, almost like the 80s, like a late 80s movie where,
like a teen comedy, like a late 80s teen comedy.
The main character is just like that borderline nerdy, but cool kid who you want to get the girl, but then there's always that kid who...
Yeah, there's always the Pete Dunne.
Yeah, there's always the Pete Dunne where you're like, oh my god, the kid better get it at the end. He better get a good smack. And he's playing that role perfectly. And, good on him.
The
he's
kid
doing
that picks on Peter Parker.
Because yeah. There are so many people that try to pull that heel thing, and it just doesn't work. It's so artificial, or you can see that they're really trying, and you're kind of over it, and they're not getting over. But, whether it be William Regal getting involved or not, I feel like after that, night 2 of UK tournament, people recognize him as a full-blown heel that can really have a future, whether it be in just the UK or dare I say, bigger, better things if in regards to main roster.
Yep. And you had Wolfgang get the big win over Trent Seven, because Trent Seven was going to be one of the guys that was people thought were going to be him and Pete Dunne. They thought they were going to be the finals. And
do you think that was the upset of the tournament?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what? Maybe Tyler Bate winning would have been the.
I'm not sure if that was necessarily an upset as opposed to just purely surprise that someone of such like a young age and so on. So we'll get back to him because that's really notable.
No, Wolfgang definitely. I mean, he's very talented, but it didn't seem like they were going to go with him going that far, and they really did, and they pushed him. So I think he got a little bit of a nice moment to shine.
If you guys watched it as well, which I know you did, I probably shouldn't even start off with that, but I gotta say, for a fact that this guy was moving all around the ring and outside of the ring, jumping and flipping, and that's right there. That's something to be said for a giant man. He's got quite the stature, and he's doing all kinds of flips and not afraid to do it, and he's doing it correctly. And from what I saw, at least, I'm sure there's some guys out there that go, "Well, that wasn't correct. I saw the one he botched to a blah. You're not supposed to land like that." But from what I saw, he was working safe, but also doing really daring maneuvers at such a large scale, which is and not an easy task.
Then on the other end of the spectrum, you had Mark Andrews, who was flying around. He was in TNA for a little while.
I think arguably my favorite of the night.
It was cool that they if I remember correctly, they, without saying, they kind of referenced him being on TNA. They said, "Oh, he's familiar with our American fans."
Yeah,
and that was cool because the acknowledgment's never there unless they're interviewing Sting or something. But
but he was definitely one of the standouts. And then you had Tyler Bate, who won the whole thing. And before we go into that, I gotta say, one of my favorite things about Tyler Bate is the distraction punch he does, where he throws his left arm up in the air and then decks you with the right.
Was it a boom and bop or something?
It was a boom and bop that he called his fist.
It's terrific. And the fact that he got an entire crowd of people to just like wave, just do like a little like hold your hand up and borderline like the princess wave,
like
the royal
wave.
Was amazing because everyone was doing it and they were loving it. And how often can you just wave to somebody and have the whole crowd be like, "Yes, we're gonna wave too." This is awesome.
Losing their minds, just like
He's a super likable guy. Like that's no question for him to be in that position of the first ever champion. I mean,
and they told a really good underdog story with him. They even did the whole injury angle where they said that he had a partial AC separation in his shoulder.
Personally, for me, now I'm going to be a little maybe not so kind with this scenario, but I gotta say that really they didn't have to go there, I don't think. But I mean, if you really want to push for him to be the face of all faces at that point in time, then I could see why. But
a little cheesy
in my opinion.
I also think that it might have given it away because they kind of do that quite a bit with like, "Oh, is he even going to be able to wrestle?" And then once he wrestles, but the fans, they bought into it. They were so hot for him. They were cheering for him. They wanted him to win.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Like I said, I found it hard to really get into the UK tourney. I understand though it brought something different. I'm hoping to go back and rewatch it, and hopefully maybe there was something I missed during the first thing. But while we're on the theme of international wrestling, I know we're a little late to the party here, but I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention the Wrestle Kingdom 11, the New Japan Wrestling main event. Now, admittedly, myself and BG are a little bit new to stuff outside of WWE and WCW and to a degree TNA. So
the news room goes, "Oh God, I'm one of those guys."
So just to give you,
we're losing viewership by.
Our two people are just slowly tuning out.
People are like, "Never mind."
The -4 viewers we just had. We're down to -6. So just to give a little backstory. A couple weeks ago, we were talking to Scumbag Mike, and he said this is absolutely something you need to check out. And this is prior to the actual event airing. Me and BG missed it on the first run through. I have since watched it with JR's commentary that aired on Access TV, which was excellent. If you guys get the chance, definitely check it out with the JR commentary because it's awesome. Who's the other one? It was the guy from UFC that was on commentary too with him. I can't think of his name.
But
anyway, it was excellent. Brent has since watched it. Mike watched the whole thing.
I watched it with the other English.
The other English commentators, yeah. But we all saw the matches. So I just kind of wanted to jump into that main event and just kind of get impressions because it's being thrown around that this is the greatest match of all time. I myself don't know if I agree with that. I thought it was a very great match. But before let's just jump into it. What do we think of it, Mike? You're a longtime fan of New Japan, so your thoughts?
Kenny Omega had an amazing year in New Japan, and this kind of capped it off for the end of the year celebration, which is Wrestle Kingdom 11. He faced Okada, who was the IWGP Heavyweight Champion, and going into it, they had a good story. Kenny Omega had won the G1 tournament. He was the first ever foreigner to win that tournament, and he's Canadian, so that was kind of a big deal. Normally they don't let foreigners win. It's kind of, Japan's very... They like their own...
Prideful.
Yeah, they're very prideful. They like their own.
It's cool. It's understandable.
And also a lot of the foreign talent tend to leave, as you saw with...
Yeah, I mean,
AJ Styles, the club.
But no, Kenny Omega, they really gave him the rub. They liked what he was doing. He is shined so good over the past year. But this match itself... like I said, a lot of people were saying it was the best match ever. I don't know if it's my personal favorite match ever, but they did do something with the psychology and the pacing of this match. It was a 45-minute match, and like they had some high spots here and there, but they did not like leave it all in the ring to the point where they could not continue. There was a very dangerous German suplex off the top.
There was a few bad neck spots in Okada.
Scary.
It's just some Daniel Bryan like shit.
Yeah, even Steve Corino made a comment about right after the move was done, like when he said when he's getting his neck fusion surgery, he is going to remember this moment, which is it's very impactful to say something like that.
Too soon. Yeah, but it's gonna happen.
Yeah, no, it's scary, and they did take some risks, but the pacing and the psychology of the match was amazing. The last 10 minutes were fast, hard-hitting action where they kind of just left it all out there. And definitely a match to watch. Like, it's definitely probably the match of the year. I don't know if it was the best match I've ever seen, but they definitely hit the mark for greatness.
It should always be in conversation, and I think it always will be, regardless of being something outside of WWE, in reference to Americans talking about wrestling matches. I think it'll always be mentioned as one of the best matches that someone's ever seen.
Yeah.
And it's completely worthy because, like you said, it hits just about every mark that there is to hit to embody a perfect wrestling match. And just the athleticism alone and the endurance that's required to do what they did for as long as they did. I feel it's like they were taking bumps of coke like throughout the whole match. Like Kenny Omega is just running around and flying around like a madman, like nonstop, and it's like I couldn't do 30 seconds of that without being like, oh my god, I need a break. Like that. Yeah. It's insane.
They'll get blown up.
It kind of goes unnoticed almost because like a lot of these athletes are just that, and they do things and make things look easy for great periods of time, and you kind of think nothing of it because that's their job. That's what you see them do all the time. But to really put yourself in those shoes, I mean, those guys are tip-top shape, but then they're also performing that art in the ring, and they're doing an amazing job at that. And then whoever is responsible for some of the choreography and some of the spots and stuff like that, and really storytelling the match, they deserve an award or whatever too. Like there's so much going on with that main event that was really something to give an applause to.
It was kind of I mean, I know between you and I, we've never spoken the name Kenny Omega before.
Right.
Before seeing
him.
This, I hadn't even heard of him because I've been so locked into the WWE silo for the last few years. I mean, really since
we're completely, admittedly,
WWE marks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Those guys.
So to have him mentioned, and then to have John Cena going on Instagram and dropping references. Now, whether or not it's true, I mean, as Mike indicated earlier, like there's like a certain amount of loyalty there for them to even let him main event. Whether or not the rumors of him coming are true, I mean, that's conjecture. I'm sure that's been covered a million times.
Yeah, I don't think. I think honestly, he has a little bit more loyalty to New Japan at this moment. I feel like they've really given him a push and kind of made him, not necessarily them giving him a push, but he's made his name world renowned there. So I feel like he owes them a little bit, and I don't think he's gonna screw them.
And I think I don't know much of him as a person, but to be given that opportunity and to be on the level that he is, I imagine that he does have that respect to really know that he owes them a lot because they've given him the opportunity to do a lot, and he'll be respectful and stay there for a while at least. And another thing is that he's no fool. If he's been in the business for that long and he knows how WWE works and all that, he knows that he would be underutilized when it comes to WWE go. I think that he has way too much going for him right now, where he is right now, to be able to just be controlled by this other entity that would really be like, oh, you can't do that because that's unsafe, or you're gonna do it our way or it's the highway kind of thing. And it's like he needs to breathe himself, and
it's a matter of when, not if.
Yeah,
I think
sure, when
he'll be there.
Absolutely.
I don't think it's going to be soon.
When
I think it will be a while.
If AJ Styles and Samoa Joe made it,
yeah,
I think he'll eventually make it. It's just what point of his career does make. But I mean, and not to get too far off track, but for like AJ Styles and Samoa Joe, Samoa Joe's a little too early to comment on because we don't know what his main roster run's gonna look like. But like, would they even be in the positioning that they're in had they come sooner?
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Likely not.
AJ Styles came at the perfect time. He came hot off his New Japan run. He was kind of getting a little stale in TNA. Took some time, went to Japan, and then he came into WWE so hot. The fans loved him. He got a giant push. Right now, he's the WWE champion. I don't think
MVP of 2016. I don't think anybody in this room or anybody on the internet wrestling community would disagree with that.
No,
literally, he hasn't even been there for an entire year yet.
No,
we're yet to be at our next Rumble, and that's when he made his premiere last year.
And he's been champ for a couple months now.
They have him with John Cena. He stepped up and took the slot that was meant for John Cena. So I mean, just the faith that the company had in him alone to say like, hey, you can carry this show while John Cena's off doing whatever. And the cool thing is I mean we'll see when Rumble happens, but they're not. It doesn't seem like they're taking that spot from him. Like it's still he's still the top guy, and John Cena's just kind of there. So I mean I think that's really great. But we are moving along on time here, so we want to keep this listenable for everybody. So the next thing we did want to jump into is the utilization of Braun Strowman, which personally I think has been absolutely masterful. I remember having a few conversations over the last few months over, going back, watching some Attitude episodes of Raw, and feeling as though things weren't carrying over. Like everything was kind of compartmentalized into its own segment. And you didn't feel like there was a general theme throughout the show. Braun Strowman is involved with every major freaking segment they have, and he's still running a feud with Sami Zayn, which is almost easy to forget about if they weren't constantly reminding you of, because he's simultaneously in the Rumble, then he's like next up for the title picture, and then he's feuding with Zayn, and then he's also got this vendetta against Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. I don't know that I've seen a storyline executed this well since the Attitude Era days. And I don't know that we've really discussed it, and I thought it would be a shame if we didn't bring it up while we're recording this.
Yeah, it's definitely worthy of being talked about. I mean, just the fact that he was simultaneously speared by the Goldberg and
I forgot about the Goldberg vendetta.
They joined hands for just a second and did a spear in unison to that gentleman without Braun Strowman really kind of putting too much time into creating some kind of rivalry with those guys. But clearly he was the right guy to be speared.
Yeah.
And that says a lot this the fact that you don't have to really do much other than just appear in the ring and people are like, yeah, that's I can see this as a picture working. Like, I mean, he's a big guy, but he's really proved his dominance, and that's beyond just the squash matches. It's cool. Of all the squash matches, too, that they've been doing as of late, I think it's cool that he kind of acknowledged them as being squash matches and them being jokes for him to have to deal with.
Yeah, it is like, give me a real challenge.
Yeah, and as opposed to just being like, we're going to make this guy look tough, and then we're going to build him up to bigger people, and it's never even really acknowledged that those are jokes of individuals, like Nia Jax or something like that, or, you know, instead it's like he goes to the, you know, the GM or whomever and is like, stop with this crap, I'm way better than this, give me better.
Or else!
I said or else.
I think, I definitely think they're utilizing him very well. Raw is doing a very interesting thing where they have, for a long time, it's been just Reigns, Rollins, Owens, and Jericho kind of in the main title picture. But as of a couple weeks ago, they did a really cool tease with like Goldberg and Lesnar and Braun Strowman and Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens stood up to Goldberg. They have like a lot of different possible ways that they could go with. The Royal Rumble is going to be very interesting this year.
It's
keeping
really
you
unpredictable.
guessing.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the first time in 3 years that there has not been a clear-cut Royal Rumble winner.
Yeah,
there hasn't.
And some people might have made up their mind already, and they can see through all this, and like they may be proven right come time for the Royal, you know, at the end of.
But that's almost coincidence at this point. Like, I mean, there has been no substantial backstage news that's leaked out about it, and on top of that, well, although I'm sitting with two guys that don't read dirt sheets, but on top of all that, there's no clarity as to which path they're going to take. Everybody thinks it's going to be on somebody on Raw. They could make it a SmackDown winner, and I know we have a Rumble episode coming up, but like this ties into Strowman, is just this unpredictability of we have multiple storylines going on centered around the same core group of people, and we don't know how this whole Rumble situation is going to play out, and it's extremely exciting right now. I think
one of the best things that they're also doing is for the first time that I can remember, it doesn't matter who wins the Royal Rumble. Like, if everyone thinks it's going to be Lesnar to face Goldberg at Mania or whatever, like, there's no matter who wins, they're going to have a story set up for him because there's so many different stories. So you could have even a low level guy, like somebody that you wouldn't expect to win, and then just tie it into a story. Like, right now, possible winners could be like Lesnar, Taker, Goldberg, Strowman, Jericho. Then you could have anyone on SmackDown.
Yeah, they're kind of doing an exceptional job at making you believe that it could be just about anybody, rather than like, you know, those random dudes that come in. You're like, you're not going to be in the storyline. Stop saying like, oh, I'm going to win the belt, blah blah blah. Like, all that stuff. They're making it pretty believable. But yeah, back to Strowman, if we can, just for a second before we go on to the next subject. How do you feel about how much TV time he's had? How much verbalizing he's been allowed to do? His on mic skill set. Like, what are some more observations, likes and dislikes of?
I will tell you this. If you told me a year ago that Braun Strowman was going to be more over than Bray Wyatt is at this point in the year,
which is kind of sad.
It's so sad. It's a tragedy, but the fans love him. I like him. I think he is being utilized as in-ring. He's not the best, but they're utilizing they're showing his strengths more than his weaknesses. His whole voice thing is a little weird because he kind of like stretches his voice when he talks. That's not his real voice.
Yeah, but like, it makes so much sense with
his country strong.
But yeah, like he go in there, be strong and silent for the most part, and just kick ass. And he's doing a good job of it.
He's the new big man, and somebody recently, somebody WWE related said that like he is the new replacement for your Big Show, your Mark Henry.
Yeah,
he's the new big man, and I think it's great.
And he insists that he is solo.
Yeah.
There have been numerous times where someone's like, you know, let's side and we'll join forces, and that way we're unstoppable. And he refuses. Every time he's like, I do this alone. Like, he's not a part of anybody's joke. He's not being, made fun of or anything of that sort. He's literally just sticking as a strong guy who's solo, hell-bent on taking out whoever he has to in order to get that belt and make it to the top.
He
will, eventually.
On the flip side of this, so we just talked about a storyline that I think we all agree is being executed perfectly. And on the flip side of that, we do have Rusev's feud with Enzo and Cass. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because I don't think it's worth a lot of time.
Doesn't need it.
But how much longer is this going to go on? Like, realistically, like how much longer can they draw this out?
Not longer. I think it's, in my opinion, I feel like it's a borderline last minute decision almost kind of thing. Like, they're probably at the drawing board and being like, so as of right now, all these other people are doing this. Like, what do we do with so and so and so and so? And they're like, maybe, I don't know. Oh, here's here. See, Enzo is like hitting on Lana or something like. It's like such a quick just you can think about it in 2 seconds and like we'll run with it, I guess. And I feel that's why that we're not invested in it. Like, all three of us unanimously are like, nah, we could do without it. And Enzo is entertaining. Enzo and Cass as a team is entertaining. Rusev is entertaining.
Rusev's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And who doesn't want to see Lana more screen time with her? But you get the storyline, the scenario, and it's changed the channel worthy. And
it's such a Vince storyline.
It's such a. I agree.
That'll work, pal.
I think also the biggest problem with this storyline is I do not understand how Rusev is the bad guy in this.
Like who's
Enzo was Lana was kind of enticing him. So if anyone, Lana's the bad guy. But Enzo was hitting on his girl. He defended her honor. He's being a good guy, and this scumbag Enzo is coming in like making eyes at his woman.
Well,
and
I guess it's kind of cool in the fact like people have that devil on one shoulder, angel on the other shoulder, and the whole time when he's going to the hotel room and all that, like he's trying to talk himself out of it because he knows it's a bad thing, but then she keeps on being an alluring Lana who wouldn't be allured by Lana no matter if Rusev is on the other side or not. You kind of like, oh shit, I mean, maybe I get this one opportunity. You take one more step in, she walks away for a second, I'll be right back, and you're like, I gotta get out of here, this is a bad decision. So I guess that's kind of cool, like that fighting with yourself back and forth because you know it's wrong, but it's so right at the same time. But even then, it's such a temporary kind of nonsensible storyline that's like, people are over in 2 seconds. I'm done with it, okay, I get it. But, I mean, as far as like, who's the bad guy, who's the good guy, surely, I mean, I think if anything, what's so bad about making what's so hard to distinguish who's good and who's bad is the fact that Rusev is just, I feel like he's just so damn likable.
Yeah.
As a wrestling fan,
he's so underutilized. He's not underutilized, underappreciated.
Sure, yeah. And you know what? I wouldn't doubt that he would be in a way better position now than he is if it weren't for he and Lana announcing their engagement and tying the knot, virally, not too long ago, and kind of getting kind of punished for it. Because you know that if Vince wants to run with a storyline, if they're investing all kinds of time, money, and effort into creating a whole storyline that revolves around a few characters, and you're just going to completely change that up by one of your just off-screen kind of decisions, you affect that entire thing. That's good. That's rules for. That's grounds for punishment, more or less.
He could just take out of all storylines, but he kind of didn't.
But he didn't get horribly punished. It's just at the time. He was still relatively like undefeated, that kind of thing. He maybe had a couple
losses,
and that's it. But he was still like untouchable, feared Rusev. And now it's almost like you can see his funny side. He's a little bit more on the quirky side.
Yeah.
And the thing is, fans really love that, and I'm excited to see where he would go with that next.
I think in general, we need to move away for a significant period of time from storylines that involve their marriage.
Yeah,
I think that needs to stop being the focal point. But anyway, let's not get too caught up on that because I think we're all in agreement there, and I think anybody listening to this,
that storyline is not great.
Yeah.
But talents, all those people involved are great.
Excellent.
They will be utilized properly at some point in time, and they're going to be fascinating to watch as time goes on.
So another topic I wanted to cover, and a little early, but there's been such an emphasis. Shane McMahon just announced last night on SmackDown that Elimination Chamber is returning. And then Raw seems content on reminding us that Fastlane is fast approaching. And, I really wanted to bring up the pay-per-views in between Rumble and Mania and whether or not we really think that they're necessary. Because, mind the pun, but they seem like a big roadblock. Because, ultimately we're building towards Mania. And, Royal Rumble is supposed to start the road to that. And then we're being inundated with these other pay-per-views. I felt very empathetic towards AJ Styles last night coming out and saying, wait, you mean if I win a Rumble, I have to go on and have to defend it? Because it doesn't
That's
make
a valid
sense.
argument, right?
It doesn't. Especially considering, with regards to, Money in the Bank. Let's say Money in the Bank's a Raw pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. What do you counter that with on SmackDown? I think the most logical thing would be Elimination Chamber for the number one contender spot. So you're going to blow that pay-per-view in the build-up to WrestleMania uselessly just because you feel like you need to run pay-per-views every so often. So, I don't know. I just wanted to open that up to discussion and see what we all thought of these pay-per-views. And if we did think they should be capped, in a perfect world anyway, how should they be utilized going forward?
As far as the pay-per-views between Royal Rumble and Mania, if you just took them out right now, you'd have pretty much 2.5 months between Royal Rumble and the next pay-per-view, because the Mania's not till April. So you would have February, March, no pay-per-view at all. That being said, I think
should
that...
they close the gap? I mean, to interrupt.
No.
Should they close the gap between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania?
No. I like to build up from... There's always been a couple months between there. Sure. I also think that a lot of this is because of the network. They have so many hours a week that they have to fill. I think the pay-per-views are less important now than they were back in the day.
No question.
Far less, yeah.
Far less. That's why they're not necessarily calling pay-per-view. Well, they're not calling pay-per-views because they're on the network now.
Yeah, just look at the
specials.
Look at the stage setup.
They're not doing much with that. It's pretty much their stage setup for Raw and SmackDown. But
digital graphics, that's all I got going for them right now.
Yeah.
With maybe a couple props here and there, and they call it a day.
But I think that it's more about time, trying to fill out time on the network. They want to get a lot of buyers on the network every month. They're trying to increase their viewers and people that are paying for it.
It's a subscription model now.
Yep.
It's no longer a pay-per-view buy model.
Yep.
So I think the pay-per-views are an extra carrot to the retrospective material that's on the network.
I think a bigger question, more so than the pay-per-views between the two things, is how are they utilizing the network correctly? I feel like they should utilize the network more. I feel like instead of for instance, I know we're gonna talk about this a little bit later, but Kurt Angle, the news dropped on ESPN. I knew that they did that because of relations with that, but they should set up a thing where you want to hear top dropping news, you watch the network. They should turn the network, because it is a streaming thing. They have a 24-hour live stream. They should have a news show once a day or something where they talk about news stories of the week or stuff like that to fill out their thing, so they wouldn't have to have these pay-per-views as much, because watering down the product with... They're going to have, every 2 weeks they have a pay-per-view?
Yeah. And I honestly don't catch all of them. It's too tough. But I especially think in between this time of year, this is such a crucial time of year. I mean, essentially, I know they say Royal Rumble is the beginning of the road to WrestleMania, but we're already on it. We're already working on WrestleMania feuds now. So to come out of December, I mean, if you want to do the pay-per-view in December, fine. But to come out of there and then, lay out some other pay-per-views, it's just okay, well, this just feels like a giant speed bump on the way. And I feel like it hurts momentum personally, but...
I agree. It does hurt momentum, but I also think that if they didn't have that, then they would kind of just not be utilizing the network correctly. I think that the specials are important. I do think that they're a necessary evil.
So, I guess it should just be how they use it. instead of just having just a nonsensical random pay-per-view, if you will, for lack of better terms, it should be really utilized to remind you like this is the last step before you get to WrestleMania. So make it count, kind of thing. It should really count rather than just be another one thrown in there somewhere.
Yeah. They kind of did that with the Roadblock special last year because they threw it in a couple weeks right before WrestleMania when they were trying to tease the Dean Ambrose.
And it was odd.
Yeah, and it was odd. That was a weird one.
Dean Ambrose was in the middle of a feud with Brock Lesnar, and Triple H was going to face Roman Reigns.
Yep.
And both of those things were basically locked in at that point in time. So to just say like, hey, it's March, let's just make a live special. It was an odd choice and whatnot, but anyway. So to move on to our next topics, Scumbag has been waiting since we hit the record button to get to this. But we had two major returns this week. The first of which we had Mickie James return last night on SmackDown.
Should we have Scumbag say this next one? The one that we call him Scumbag because it's things like this where this would have been the dropping of the news for this.
But 5 minutes ago.
He had to spoil it earlier 5 minutes ago, like just in passing, like just like crazy.
Scumbag, you can go with our next. You can go with our next one. Take it.
Well, the big news was they are going to induct the first inductee to the Hall of Fame this year is Kurt Angle.
He's so excited he can't even get his words right.
My personal favorite wrestler.
Scumbag.
Scumbag.
But yeah, that's actually really huge news. He's still doing some independent shows. He has contracts doing those up until I believe the beginning of March. But this is huge. Like he's been away for longer than he was in the WWE. I think he was only in the WWE
7 years.
like 7 years.
7 years total, and he left in
2006. Yeah, 2006. So he's been gone almost 10 years. Yeah. So this is big.
No, almost 11.
Yeah, I know. Oh my god.
Did you foresee him lasting this long in the business?
Kurt Angle?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I know he wouldn't let himself go or be like, oh, I'm just gonna depart completely.
I mean, all things considered, retrospectively,
being a performer and
yeah.
I mean, I think he hit the ground running for coming from the Olympics like he did to getting into the business. He kind of picked it up really fast. He got the entertainment aspect out of it. Comedic genius, dude. He is so good.
Oh, absolutely.
He knows how to play the crowd really well. If he's a good guy or a bad guy,
he's a natural in so many different ways.
And his in-ring ability is compared to none. Like he's head and shoulders above everyone, in my opinion.
Now, before we get way too ahead of ourselves, because I can see we're getting there. We don't know if he's coming back for a match yet.
Right
now, we only know he's coming back for the Hall of Fame. To my knowledge, Scumbag, correct me if I'm wrong. The only person that's ever wrestled while being a Hall of Famer is Ric Flair, who's ever been, and I think Hogan. Ric Flair.
In my knowledge, I don't know if Ric Flair has wrestled. He doesn't exist anymore. I don't know if Ric Flair wrestled in WWE after he was a Hall of Famer. I can't recall.
I thought so, but maybe not. Maybe not.
I know he wrestled in TNA and a couple of indies. He did the tour with Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, the Hulkamania tour.
Oh my god, that was ridiculous.
But most of these Hall of Famers, they're done. So I know personally for me, this is a huge thing in regards to. It's a little ambiguous. Is he going to continue? What's going to happen? Are we going to get at least one more match out of Kurt Angle?
I think, in my personal opinion, that we will get one more match out of him. I don't necessarily know if he'll clear the physical. WWE has a hard physical to clear if you want to wrestle a match there.
Hogan had issues passing.
So that's kind of a big question. For me, the biggest thing is that he's getting into the Hall of Fame. I'm just happy to see him back and doing something. I could absolutely see him managing American Alpha when Shelton Benjamin. He's still scheduled to come back. I feel like they could do a Team Angle 2.0 where it would be Angle, Benjamin, and Jordan and Gable. I think that would be really hot. They could feud with the Wyatts when they have all the Wyatts back.
I think he's too good of an athlete and too good of a wrestler where he stands right now to not just be like, yeah, let me throw a couple more.
And he can still go. There's no
absolutely. And if you have Goldberg randomly come back, and I'm not necessarily against it, but I'm saying this guy came out of like the woodwork randomly to just like advertise a game, said a couple words, and all of a sudden he's going to be wrestling a few matches. No one ever foresaw that. Once he was done the first time around, you think, well, that's the end of Goldberg, and you see him downsize, and he's doing his car thing and whatever else he's doing. You think he's moved on, but he comes back. For someone like Kurt Angle, who's just full blown still in the business, still in tip top shape, to say that he won't come back at least for one more match is foolish. Like maybe not right now.
Yeah.
And maybe not for who knows, maybe in like another year. But I think eventually he will come back to do at least a couple more gigs where it's really notable.
I hope.
And a cool
I'm
return.
really hoping.
I know that he does have some serious neck issues, but I will say this: if he won a gold medal with a broken friggin' neck, I think he can wrestle one WWE match.
I think they can get him back. We also had Mickie James. I'm a huge Mickie James fan. I was during her first run. As I've mentioned to both of you before, I think she was extremely underrated because she was being overshadowed by the whole Trish Lita feud at that point in time. And they were doing a lot of stupid shit with the bikini matches and all that crap. They were still in the Divas mode at that point. But that was a huge, huge return last night. And I think the SmackDown women's division is only going to prosper from it because she arguably has more experience than really anybody with the exception of maybe Lita at this point in time.
Yeah, maybe Natty on SmackDown.
Maybe, yeah, but I really think they're all going to benefit from her being there. So
I remember when the brand split first happened, and everyone was like, "Oh, SmackDown really got the shaft on the women's division because they only got Becky Lynch." But they've done well with what they have. Alexa Bliss has easily become one of the top women.
Yeah,
and I think Mickie James siding with her is going to only help her. I think Mickie James will bring a lot to the division. She has a lot of experience, like you said, and
I'm not huge on her debuting as a heel because I feel like they're very heel heavy right now.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of faces, especially when you consider the amount of injuries they have in the women's roster. Because I think Summer Rae's out, Paige is out,
Maria's out, but I don't know if that's because of injury.
Yeah, I think is Naomi out right now? No, she's on.
I think she's on.
But I just felt like it was an odd choice to debut her as a heel, but I'm willing to see where they go with it.
Yeah, I guess it's cooler for surprise factor, maybe.
Yeah,
possibly.
Yeah, and they could switch her too, because this could turn out to be like especially with the reaction she got at TakeOver in November. This could turn out to be like a Hollywood Hogan thing where everybody wants the red and yellow.
Yeah,
they want the old face Mickie James. So we could see. So we're rapidly running out of time. So I just wanted to bring us to our final talking point of today, and this is I didn't tip really anybody off on this, but I thought it would be really cool because so keeping with the theme of the week, much to the dismay of many people, on Friday we will have the first WWE Hall of Famer take the White House. So I thought it would be cool. Donald Trump is a celebrity inductee, as we all know. If we could just give our predictions or personal favorites for the celebrity wing of the Hall of Fame for 2017. So, BG, if you'd like to start us off.
Shit. I don't know. You kind of caught me off guard because I've had, until you brought this up, I really had nobody in mind that would be like the best answer for the next celebrity. But I'm trying to think who really paid their dues in WWE in order to kind of become their Hall of Famer. Forgive me for not knowing, but I mean, as Drew Carey.
I think
he's in it already.
He showed up. As Jon Stewart, maybe. Right?
You know what? Jon Stewart. That's a good one. He's not in yet.
Jon Stewart has been heavily involved.
He's been heavily involved. I know Pete Rose is in there. I'm trying to think of.
Machine Gun Kelly took a power bomb from Owens.
Oh, what about is Snoop in there yet?
Snoop could be there.
Snoop.
I could definitely...
Snoop, I think, won last year.
What about Kid Rock? He was very music. Why don't they do a music wing where they have Kid Rock and Limp Bizkit, the original Attitude Era music band?
Here's my vote. Lemmy and Motorhead, which I thought should have gone in last year.
Right, should have been. And I'm surprised Triple H didn't pull the strings to make that happen.
Wow.
If I remember correctly, Snoop Dogg went in last year.
Was it Snoop?
I believe it was Snoop Dogg.
Yeah,
because he had that speech where he did the shout out to Sasha. I felt like last year it was kind of a slight that Motorhead didn't go in with the death of Lemmy and everything, and considering the amount of music they've contributed.
Yeah.
But I just thought that would be a fun little topic to open up. Did anybody else come to mind?
In all honesty, like that kind of blew my mind that I didn't even think of that. Lemmy would be an excellent choice. He has contributed a lot more than
Probably
Drew Carey.
probably the most suitable, but with all respect, I feel as if they would want somebody to walk the stage.
Well, the remaining members of Motorhead, I would imagine
to accept it for. Yeah, I mean that I think it'd be a great idea, and like you said. They probably should have done that last year, but it was probably, all the paperwork was probably already done for Snoop and all that, to kind of go back on that, I'd imagine.
To be honest, the only people I could think of are like one-offs, like Bob Barker, because he was one of the best special guest GMs that people really liked, or Snooki.
And sad, but he's on his way out, for sure. Yeah. Bob Barker doesn't have much longer to be able to walk a stage,
Get him in before he goes out.
Right.
He did do the Wheel of Fortune. The Price is Right wheel. He spun the wheel.
Yeah, no,
what was it? Let's make a deal.
The Raw, where
the Raw roulette. Yeah. When they were in Vegas.
Oh, that was a different thing.
I love you when Let's Make a Deal. Yeah. The Price is Right.
But anyway, so that brings us to the end of episode 1. So once again, if you're listening to this, this was initially recorded as a test episode. So if you're listening to it, it made it, and apparently you made it the full hour somehow. I don't know how.
Congratulations.
So we'll be back next week. Just to give you guys a little clue on what we're going to do. Mike and I will be constant on the podcast. Brent has some weird working hours, so he's going to do it as often as he can. We're certainly going to have him on before big events like pay-per-views and such. Hopefully, and then we'll have a rotating third mic slot when he's not here. Hopefully, we will have a name and a theme song sometime soon. And, we look forward to, dropping it with you guys hopefully every Thursday. That's the plan. So, thanks for tuning in. Catch you guys next week. Hope you enjoyed it.
Take care.
Bye.